Welcome to the Fantasy Source Baseball Podcast. My name is David A. Arnott, sitting here with Matt Lutovsky. And as Harold Reynolds said, I believe in 2003, opening day is not just any day, it's the day of days. And so, today, on the day of days, we celebrate opening day.
Yeah, no, the boys of summer, and it's 40 degrees outside, but nonetheless, it's opening day.
Boys of summer, so on and so forth,
Right.
yada, yada, yada.
Yes.
Here's my question for you.
Yes.
And I have been wondering about this question, and you know, and I'll give you guys a little bit of, or you listeners, a little bit of inside baseball. We said we would talk about this before the show.
Yeah.
What do you think about how to handle pitchers before the season, or early in the season, I should say? Because I'm a fan of playing matchups most of the
Right.
times. I am very, very quick on the trigger on, say, taking a guy out when I think that's a particularly weak matchup and just scouring a waiver wire and using a bench spot on that type of guy.
Right. Well, it's tough because there's that excitement where you just want to play every single pitcher you have, every player you have. You just want to throw them out there right away. And it's tough to say, all right, do you or don't you? Obviously, if you're in a head-to-head league, you play them. You know, you just kind of have to. But if you're in a roto league, particularly in a league with innings limit, I think you should be cautious because it's much easier to make up those innings and those stats later in the year than it is, you know, it's just easy to do that. You don't have to take some risks. And I think looking at some of these early starts, at least for this first weekend, you know, we saw one today was a good example, Edison Volquez, who we've been debating a lot in the Fantasy Source office, and he first two batters gives up home runs, and he's kind of getting knocked around a little bit today.
Now on Fantasy Source, we're doing something different this year. We've got daily pitcher rankings.
Yes.
Where about there would you have been putting Volquez?
Yeah, I think today, since there was only 6 games, he was. I think we had him like 7th or 8th.
Yeah,
and
but out of those 6 games, you know, like he's a draftable pitcher.
Right.
But for that matchup, you gotta knock him down a bit.
Right. I just want to remind people we have a new thing. It's called First Pitch. It's for Fantasy Source subscribers. We do it every morning, even the weekend. And there's we do 3 up, 3 down. We look at a quick look at the night before. We give you splits for the upcoming day, and then we rank every single pitcher for that day for people who like to stream. But yeah, getting back to like a guy like Volquez, didn't start him on colleague Bill Bender did. He was already cursing after the Ricky Weeks, Carlos Gomez take him yard. And you look at some other guys who I think fall into this category. Got a couple Houston guys, Brett Myers, Wandy Rodriguez pitching at Philly. Couple Arizona guys, Daniel Hudson, Ian Kennedy pitching in Colorado. We got Sean Markham, who's been hurt, velocity down, pitching in Cincinnati. Max Scherzer at New York is a borderline one.
Scherzer's weird.
And he had a terrible spring.
Yeah.
It's in New York. And then this is the one, to me, this is the perfect example of the borderline guy, right at that line, Francisco Liriano at Toronto.
Now, why is he borderline?
Because he's really good. Like, he's a really good pitcher. He had a really good
I'm saying, like,
year.
why would you bench him?
Well, right, that's it. But he had a bad spring. He's in a bad ballpark against a really good offensive team. Now, the reason I would play him is because, A, he plays for a good team who's going to score some runs. He's going against Kyle Drabeck, youngster, who the Twins can probably hit a little bit. And also, Liriano's big thing last year was he didn't give up home runs, which is what the Blue Jays do.
Right,
They
right.
swing for the fences.
Yes.
So I would go with him. The rest of those guys on that list, I would bench. And it's tough to do some good pitchers in that group.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at Daniel Hudson.
Yes. I have him in the league, and I benched him.
I've got him in the Sporting News Experts League, and it's one of those things where I strongly saying here he's playing at Colorado, first start of the season. It's going to be the second game for the Diamondbacks. Colorado, even though it's no longer the number 1 home run park in baseball, it's still an offensive paradise.
Right.
And
Good team.
Yeah, and it's a good team. As good as Hudson is, it's one of those situations where you tell yourself, okay, if he's my best pitcher, maybe I want to roll with that.
Right.
But I think that if he's my 6th best starter, as in my case, maybe I don't roll with that.
Right.
Maybe I just say, you know what? Eventually, I'm planning on hitting my pitching limit at a certain point anyway.
Right.
I can let this one go.
Right, and I remember last year I had Sean Markham, and I benched him on opening day, and I think a no-hitter in the 7th.
Yes.
And I sat there the whole time.
But was it the right choice at the time?
He was pitching at Texas.
There you go.
I mean, come on, it's Sean Markham. Come on. So yeah, it's going to happen where you'll bench a guy, he throws great, and you'll be upset. But I just think be cautious early because people love to say cold weather helps pitchers, and people love to say, oh no, but hitters are ahead of pitchers. And I don't think we really know. I did a little statistical breakdown for Inside Pitch that was published today where April numbers, home runs are down, but so are strikeouts, generally speaking. But the bottom line is it really is an individual thing. I mean, it was cold in Cincinnati. Volquez got shelled. It's not warm. It's overcast in New York. Both Sabathia and Verlander gave up 3 runs today. So it's tough to say, and to me, I just play it safe with those borderline guys.
Now, as far as determining what is a good matchup and what isn't a good matchup, now, besides your general guidelines you've already given, what do you say about those people when, they're a great pitcher already? Do you ever bench a great pitcher? Like, for instance, Sabathia and Verlander today. Like, Verlander, you could argue, is not a good matchup today.
Well, and also he generally pitches poorly in April.
Yeah.
But he came off a fantastic spring. He's under sub-1 ERA, which is, doesn't mean a ton, but it's nice. So I would stick with them. Like I said, to me, a guy like Liriano is that last where, maybe should I? But when you're talking Lincecum, you're talking Kershaw, you're talking Kane even.
The real studs.
Yeah, I even put Matt Cain, I'm starting him. And I'm going, certainly Lee and Hamels and these guys. But if there's a guy who generally has this kind of inconsistent, shaky and whatnot, you can question it at least. It's worth questioning and going with. But for the most part, stick with the guy. Play your gut, I guess. You can't blame anyone then. Don't blame me if you if you bench Wallace Shashin, he throws a no hitter. I don't want to be blamed for that.
All right, Matt. Thanks for joining us.
All right.